Oh, you think your commute is bad? Imagine swimming 900 miles upstream against a raging current, dodging bears and eagles, leaping up waterfalls, slowly starving to death just so you can have sex once and immediately die in the exact same gravel bed where you were born. Welcome to being a salmon. Now, most animals get to enjoy their lives at least a little bit. They eat, they sleep, they reproduce. Maybe they get a few good years before something with bigger teeth shows up. But salmon? Salmon are on nature's most elaborately cruel timer. They're born with an expiration date and a GPS coordinate, and their entire existence is just one long, exhausting march toward both. Let's start with the early years, which are actually pretty decent. Baby salmon hatch in freshwater streams, usually somewhere cold and remote, where the water's clean and the gravel's just right. They spend their childhood hanging out in rivers, eating insects, learning to swim, basically living their best lives. It's peaceful, it's safe, it's the only good part. Then they hit puberty, and evolution flips a switch. Suddenly, these fish get an irresistible urge to swim downstream toward the ocean. They don't know why, they just know they have to. So they do. They ride the current all the way to the sea, where they spend the next 1 to 5 years eating, growing, and actually enjoying themselves. The ocean's great for salmon. Plenty of food, lots of space. Nobody's trying to spawn them to death yet. They bulk up. They get strong. Some species, like Chinook salmon, can reach over 100 pounds. They're living the dream, basically. Swimming around, eating shrimp and squid, getting absolutely jacked. And then, one day, the switch flips again. It's time to go home. Time to swim back to the exact stream where they were born. Not a similar stream, not a nearby stream. The exact stream. Scientists still don't fully understand how they navigate, but the current theory involves magnetic fields, smell, and some kind of genetic memory that frankly sounds like magic. Salmon can detect the chemical signature of their home stream from hundreds of miles away. They can smell childhood, which would be touching if it wasn't a death sentence. Because here's the thing, the moment a salmon enters fresh water, it stops eating. Completely. Its digestive system shuts down. It's running on reserves now, and the reserves have to last anywhere from a few weeks to several months, depending on how far upstream home happens to be. Some salmon have to travel over 900 miles. 900 miles without food, while swimming against a current so strong it would sweep a human away like a leaf. And just when you think it can't get worse, nature says, challenge accepted. First, there are the waterfalls. Salmon don't swim around waterfalls. They don't look for easier routes. They jump. Some waterfalls are 12 feet high. The fish fling themselves out of the water like wet, scaly missiles, trying to make it over the top. Most don't. They slam into rocks, fall back down, and have to try again, and again, and again. Some try dozens of times before they either make it or give up and die. Meanwhile, every predator in a 50-mile radius knows exactly what's happening. This is the salmon run. This is Christmas. Bears line up along the rivers like they're at an all-you-can-eat buffet. And they are. Grizzly bears, black bears, it doesn't matter. They all show up for salmon season. They stand in the shallows and just grab fish out of the water. Some bears get so good at it, they only eat the fattiest parts, the brain, the eggs, the skin, and toss the rest. There are videos of bears catching 10, 15, 20 salmon in a single day and barely finishing any of them. The salmon, exhausted and starving, can't do anything about it. They just keep swimming, because stopping means dying, and swimming also means dying, but at least swimming means dying after they've had sex.
Then there are the eagles. Bald eagles love salmon runs. They perch in trees along the river and wait for a fish to get tired or injured, then swoop down and grab it. Sometimes they don't even wait. Sometimes they just snatch a healthy fish mid-swim and fly off. The salmon doesn't even see it coming. One second, it's battling the current, the next second, it's airborne and extremely confused. And the whole time, the salmon's body is falling apart. Remember, they're not eating. They're burning through fat and muscle just to keep moving. Their immune systems shut down, their organs start to fail, their skin changes color, bright red, deep green, depending on the species, which is actually a sign of decay. Male salmon grow these grotesque hooked jaws called kypes, which make them look like they're screaming, which, honestly, they should be. Their flesh turns pale and mushy, their fins fray, open sores appear on their bodies. By the time they reach their spawning grounds, they look like zombies. Beautiful, determined, horrifying zombies. But they keep swimming. Because this is what they were born to do. Literally, their entire genetic code is screaming at them to get upstream, find a mate, and pass on their DNA. Nothing else matters. Not food, not comfort, not survival. Just reproduction. It's the most intense case of biological peer pressure in the animal kingdom. Finally, after weeks or months of this nightmare, they make it. They reach the exact patch of gravel where they were born. How do they know it's the right spot? Nobody's entirely sure, but they know. They know. And now comes the romantic part. Just kidding, there's nothing romantic about this. The females dig nests in the gravel by turning on their sides and thrashing their tails. It's called a redd. It takes hours and uses up the last of their energy. When the nest is ready, they release thousands of eggs into the gravel. The males immediately fertilize them. There's usually some fighting involved because even at death's door, males are still competing for access to females. Nature's consistent, if nothing else. And then, within a few days, sometimes a few hours, they die. All of them. Every single one. Pacific salmon don't survive spawning. It's not bad luck or predation or illness. It's built into their biology. They're programmed to die. Their bodies are so thoroughly wrecked by the journey and the hormonal changes that they simply shut down. They float downstream, belly up, or they get wedged in the rocks, or they wash up on the banks. The ones that don't get eaten by bears or scavenged by eagles just rot where they fall. And here's the really twisted part. That's actually good for the ecosystem. The decaying salmon bodies release nutrients into the stream. Nitrogen, phosphorus, all the building blocks of life. The trees along the riverbanks literally grow taller in areas with more salmon. The insects eat the rotting flesh. The baby salmon, when they hatch in a few months, feed on those insects. So the parents are fertilizing the stream that will feed their children. They're composting themselves for the next generation. It's poetic in a deeply messed up way. But let's not pretend this is a beautiful circle of life situation. This is a species that spends 95% of its life enjoying the ocean, then gets biologically hijacked into a suicide mission so elaborate it makes a Greek tragedy look like a sitcom. And the worst part? The baby salmon don't even know. They hatch in the gravel, completely oblivious to the corpses of their parents rotting a few feet away. They start eating, swimming, growing. They ride the current downstream. They reach the ocean. They think, wow, this is great. I'm going to live here forever. And then one day, the switch flips. Some salmon populations are endangered now, by the way. Dams block their rivers, pollution wrecks their spawning grounds, climate change warms the water to lethal temperatures. Overfishing decimates the ones that make it to the ocean. Humans have managed to make an already impossible journey even worse, which is impressive in the darkest possible way. But the salmon that remain still do it. Every year, without question. They swim, they jump, they starve, they fight, they spawn, they die. Because that's the deal. That's the contract they signed with evolution 4 million years ago, back when this seemed like a reasonable reproductive strategy. You have to admire the commitment, even if the outcome is horrific. Even if the entire system is designed to pulverize you from the inside out. Even if success and death are the same thing. Because salmon don't complain. They don't quit. They don't wonder if there's an easier way. They just swim upstream, no matter what's waiting for them. And honestly, there's something weirdly inspiring about that. Something almost noble. Right up until you remember they're doing it all just to have sex in a gravel bed and immediately decompose. Nature doesn't care about fairness. It doesn't care about comfort or dignity or whether your life story makes any emotional sense. It just cares that you reproduce. Everything else is optional. And in the case of salmon, everything else is also lethal. So the next time your GPS sends you the wrong way and you have to make a U-turn, remember, at least you're not a salmon. At least your navigation system isn't trying to kill you. At least going home doesn't mean swimming 900 miles upstream without eating, battling bears and waterfalls, and the slow collapse of your own body just so you can die where you started. At least you get to turn around.